Hey everybody, welcome back to Fimblewolf Gaming. We are here covering the good campaign for Battle for Middle-earth 2. We are playing this on hard, and so this is technically supposed to be like the canonical what happened during the War for the Ring. So like I said, Gondor and Rohan have been fighting in the south, and now we're going to cover the war in the north with the Goblins, Mordor, elves, and the dwarves. This level should be relatively short. This is just kind of an introductory level to the elves, kind of like what we had with the goblins way back in Lothlorien. This time we're going to be starting out in Rivendell, and we're just going to get kind of a cursory glance at what the elves are capable of. We're going to get just an initial taste, just to kind of get us used to it. After you play through the evil campaign, it shouldn't be that hard to pick up the good campaign, or vice versa if you start with the good campaign. The factions are similar enough that if you can play one, you can pick up another pretty easily. But there are going to be some decent differences that we'll be able to utilize. If nothing else, our troops aren't going to be absolute trash. Goblin warriors have a tendency to die really quickly, but elves are a lot stronger and hit a lot harder. And instead of poison, elves have a unique ability that all their infantry stealths in the trees. So, I don't tend to utilize that very much. Doesn't really work that well against a computer, and you kind of forget to do it when you're playing against players, but it's a fun little ability, and it can be definitely useful for spying on people if you want. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. I absolutely love this game because the art for the game is just stunning. On top of that, I mean, it's just done really well. They got a lot of the original voice actors. The quality of the game is really a lot higher than what you might have expected for what most other cases would have been just a quick cash grab for a game. They really went all out on this one, and I really appreciate it. So you can kind of see we're getting a good intro here. The goblins have come down from the north. They're attacking Rivendell, and we're going to pick up by playing with Glorfindel. Yep, just need to bring him closer. And we don't start out with very much. We've just got one battalion, and we got Glorfindel. Now Glorfindel's a pretty strong hero, so that should be enough to get us started. And these elves are pretty decent warriors, and at level 5 they should be healing themselves. So it's not a terrible start, but it's not like the goblins where we've got builders, we've got fortresses or anything like that. We're just here to kind of start learning basic troop movements. It is nice that they give us Glorfindel to start. He's underappreciated if you've only seen the movies, but he's one of the most influential and important characters in all of Lord of the Rings. I mean, he's basically the the historian for the elves, but he's been in most of the major battles in Middle-earth. And so obviously he starts at level 1. It makes sense, trust me. So because we're kind of outnumbered, or we've been outnumbered, we've carved through like 4 or 5 battalions at this point, and you can see the difference. Goblins are kind of just melting. Part of that's because it's the first level, but a lot of it's just because goblins are not very strong. But because we're outnumbered, the best thing to do is kind of let Glorfindel tank some damage. If it were Gorkill, that's a little bit of a different story because he's a little bit weaker, but Glorfindel's a reasonably strong hero. So we're going to let him take the damage, and then these guys over here, since they were getting harassed by like 4 battalions at a time, I just put them in guard formation to keep them alive longer. Okay, so we've got our small army. We're going to move across the bridge to Rivendell, and then on the other side of the bridge, we're going to be able to start training an actual army. We're going to get a good look at what the elves have to offer. Yeah. Okay, so obviously everybody knows Elrond from the movies, and they do a pretty good job of recreating him in this game. Glorfindel has a brief appearance. He is, I believe he's Gimli's dad, if I remember correctly. Oh, sorry, not Glorfindel, Gloin. Yeah, so we've got Gloin, we got Elrond, we got Glorfindel.
What brings you back so soon, elf? Have come down from the mountains. They're approaching from the south.
He's more of a character in The Hobbit, obviously, but he does show up briefly in Lord of the Rings, and he's also going to be a really powerful hero. So we get a really good start for good. I think the good campaign tends to be a lot easier than the evil campaign for most of the levels. None of the levels are particularly hard, but good does get like a lot of really strong heroes. There's one level where things get really hard, or at least moderately hard, and that's Erebor. But for most of it, we're gonna be able to get through it pretty easily. And if you've made it through one campaign, you can make it through the other without any real problem.
This is the way.
Alright. So I'm not gonna get too many of these guys because at some point we'll get access to different units, and I want to leave enough command points to get other units. I'm going to send them down.
Don't draw attention. Elves, over here.
So, Gloin has his slam ability, and it's basically like a wizard blast. It just knocks back a ton of troops. Okay, we did that. That levels him up. Let's get Elven Gifts. It's a passive, but it buffs the heroes permanently. Elrond has Leadership, which buffs our troops. He has Farsight, which allows us to see any location. And he has Athelas, which helps to heal people. And I believe at this point, Glorfindel has Mount and... he might have a Blade ability right now, but he may not be high enough level. Okay, let's get our elves over here. I want some more... oh my gosh, how did we get 6 grand? I want some more Lorien archers. These guys are some of the best base archers in the game. Just the fact that they can stealth and their upgrades are a little bit better too. Everybody gets access to fire arrows except for the elves. Elves get Silverthorn arrows, and those are, unless you're dealing with something like Ents, they're cut above. I don't think they're quite as good against siege, or buildings, but they just destroy units. So, and monsters, which I guess technically counts as siege for the goblins, but they get melted by Silverthorn. So we're not that we have access to that yet, but in a skirmish, your elves will be able to pretty easily take down monsters. Sweet. Alright, and then the last thing we get access to are the Lancers. Now, do we have... I don't think we actually have a green pasture, but our army's full anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We're just going to take these Lancers, and we're going to move them over. Arwen is not the best hero. We'll take her, because it doesn't hurt to have one more. She's mainly kind of like a mounted hero that has... she has a heal ability, she has a flood, but that's really about it. Okay, let's repel these goblins, we'll cross the river, and then we will take out the goblin fortress. Or actually, I think it's just an encampment. I don't think they have a fortress. This is an easy level. Shouldn't worry about anything while we're doing this. Just kind of take it slow if you're having troubles. So I think after you've beaten the evil campaign, you should have no problems. Let's see if we can trample a lot of these guys. Ooh. Okay, so we should be able to just steamroll these guys at this point. Our cavalry can trample just about any unit. Anything they can't deal with, our archers and swordsmen can. And then we've got 2 eagles, so if there's a really tough building, it's not going to last. We've got some eagles. Eagles are really vulnerable to arrows, so you do want to be careful about that, but in this first level it's not really an issue. Okay, Elven Wood, basically like Tainted Land, it buffs our troops as long as they are in the Elven Wood. It also provides a little bit of cover if you need to stealth. Let's make an army for these Eagles. Let's use these Lancers. Okay, we need to get our archers up or our eagles because I don't want those guys killing our lancers. Oh, she does have flood. Okay, I thought it took her to level 7 to get that. Okay, so at this point I'm just kind of like having one army focus one thing, one army focus another. The advantage of putting your troops in armies is that you can quickly select one group of troops. The disadvantage is it gets really chaotic really quick. Alright, let's destroy... Once we've destroyed all the buildings, that should be everything for their camp. Now, as it is with as it always is with these, there's a little bit of a twist in each level. And so, we'll have to be on the lookout for that. In this case, it's a worm. So I think we got that in the last campaign. Basically a fire-breathing monster that you really only want to hit with ranged units. It's not the hardest thing to deal with, but it will destroy a lot of your infantry. But just like that, we beat this level. So all you need to do is just gather your troops slowly, and slow and steady if you're having problems, but you should have everything you need to beat this level. That's about it for this one. I know it's a little bit shorter, but thanks for joining me anyways. We'll try to be back here the next week or two with the next episode. If you like this, go ahead and give it a like, and consider subscribing. It does help a lot. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next couple of weeks.
Elves and dwarves of the north against Sauron's advancing armies. His most powerful warrior, Glorfindel, will join forces with